Hello, Mechwarriors, and welcome to the Mechbay, where we fix your mech and fix your game. What's going on, Mechwarriors? I'm your host, Josh, and today my hostages / co-host are Dustin and Denham. What's going on, guys?
Not much. Doing well.
I'm doing okay so far.
Nice. And today we are going to bring you the overview for the best way to add the homework phase to your tabletop wargaming. That's right. We're going to be talking about campaigns and continuing play from game to game. But first, as always, let's rev up those reactors with some hobby news, hobby progress, and some fan mail. So what's been on my table lately? I have been painting up a literal storm. I've been painting my Diamond Sharks, my Sea Foxes, and a little bit of my Comstar, but mainly the Sea Foxes for the Ilk Clan era. I have chosen to do the Delta AMAG and with the water rippling effect, like when the sun goes through the waves and it hits the bottom of the beach and you see all those weird refraction lines. That's kind of the style I'm doing.
Yeah, swimming pool.
Yeah, the bottom of a swimming pool. So I am painting water, but not actually painting water. I'm painting everything underwater. And oh my gosh, do I want to go back to painting white by now already? Please, someone stop me. That's pretty much what I've been doing hobby progress-wise. Now, I'm going to say I went to 3 stores looking for specific colors for the Foxes, and I didn't know at the time, but Ares Games sells the Reaper Master series of paints and Army Painter online. I still just always think they do the Hank Hill and, sell mechs and mech accessories, but it's nice to know you can get it all from them. Some games played, though. I played you, Dustin. We got 2 games of Alpha Strike in, back-to-back, 2 days in a row. So,
that's right.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, I got better when I copied your list.
Oh, you're the worst.
No, it's good. I feel like I had 3 games of Alpha Strike under my belt before we started doing these practice games, and I got 3 more games in, and by the time we're done with the 6 games at the tournament, I think I'll be done forever with Alpha Strike. We'll see.
Oh, you're so bad.
I'm salty. I'm not salty. The more I play Alpha Strike, the more I'm like, I think I'm a classic guy. I'll play Alpha Strike with anybody off the street.
I think that's just because you know that if you're playing Alpha Strike, you could just be playing Classic instead.
Basically, yeah. I've got the miniatures. I've got the people, my homies. Let's just play Classic. Anyways, but this is a Classic Battletech podcast. So what else would you guys expect?
We're a tabletop Battletech podcast, sir.
Incorrect. Classic.
It's my podcast, and he's already trying to.
All right, I'm reading the title right now,
Yeah.
and it does, in fact, say Tabletop Battletech Podcast.
There we go.
Sorry,
It's 2 out of 3. You've been overruled.
Overruled. Okay.
Challenge me.
Yeah, I switched up from the first game we played. I played my Inner Sphere stuff. I brought a bunch of field artillery. It was fun, but I'm going to be bringing my Clan Wolf Alpha Galaxy to the tournament because they're my most recently painted. They're new miniatures. So I went ahead, remade the list with my, 2 stars. The second game we played, I think my list was especially terrible and my game was especially terrible. But I added that heat in. I saw that the heat special ability was basically, seems free. I mean, does it seem free to you? It doesn't seem like you pay a lot of points for it.
You don't do as much damage, so you pay for a mech that would do half the damage because heat's not as guaranteed.
Okay.
Not everything is affected by heat. Heat doesn't affect everything in the same way. So I saw that heat. You literally did copy my tactics and list by the end, which was
Adapt or die, right? It'll be interesting to, because we have a 2-person meta. It'll be interesting to see what happens at the tournament.
Yeah,
maybe it'll make me like Alpha Strike. Who knows? But yeah, the game 2, I was like, wow, the heat that you're hitting me with is annoying. It seems cheap to bring it to the table, so why not? I tried it out. Game 3, I was like, this is nice.
And I still hate you for it. But no.
How does it feel?
Yeah, really. I learned it from you, Dad. I learned it from watching you. So for our second game, or the first game of that weekend, I took my Sea Foxes and everything that I was setting up for Republic of the Sphere, which no longer exists, so it got, quote, repossessed. And that was what I figured would be a nice practice game. And it did fun. There weren't too many special rules. Nothing was too fast. We played out of the WolfNet Radio podcast mission packet. The first day, the game was capture the flags.
Yeah.
I took 2 light mechs, and we randomly rolled on the mission list, and that was just kind of overpowering against you. So I kind of showed you that speed is still key.
I did have a Viper and a Mistlynx, which they're both pretty speedy, but what they didn't have was like that knife fighting capability. And I saw that you just like, there is maybe artillery's an answer, but it's not consistent or reliable enough. You have to have like a really fast knife fighter to go into. I so far cannot think of a counter to a knife fighter, especially in an objective based game, right? Like,
yeah. And when you refer to a knife fighter, you're referring to like my piranhas and stuff that I was taking.
Yeah,
that does like 5
TMM,
damage.
3, 4, 4 or 5 damage. No damage at medium or negligible medium range damage. Yeah, those little speedy high TMM boogers. Because if you got to get close to reliably hit them, and if you're in close, you got to be able to dish it because you're going to lose those trades if you're not.
That was game 1. I beat you, I think, after only a couple turns.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
And our second game, I played at your place, and I took roughly the same list, just with a few exchanges.
Couple tweaks, yeah.
Couple tweaks. That was also from the WolfNet radio packet. That was the bunkers mission. After a little bit of time debating on how the mission actually worked, I think we got it pretty straightened out. And I think the biggest thing is you could have won. I think we determined by the end. I was winning at the time, and you would have won if we had gone on for like 5 or more turns past our time limit.
It would have come down to like in a tournament setting, like if the game was over, then you would have had it. If the game wasn't over yet, I might have been able to make it up. We kind of lost track of time, I think, a little bit, but I think you would have had it because you had the early lead, and we had already been playing for a while.
What I did think was funny was that for this one, you had, like I said,
I brought the artillery back.
Yeah, you brought the artillery back. You then took everything that you saw worked in my list and put it in yours. We took 2 of the same mech randomly, which
yeah, was it that Nova and that Stormcrow?
Just the Nova
Just
L.
Nova. Yeah.
What I thought was funny is that you were then heating up all of my mechs, and the mechs that I couldn't shoot heat were all radical heatsink mechs, so it did really nothing to me.
Yeah.
But it still made me then roll and then have radical heatsinks break down, which I thought was fun. But yeah, those are our 2 Alpha Strike games, and those are pretty interesting. I think, like I said, you'll be glad to get back to Classic in a week or 2. But next time we play Battletech will most likely be the Southern Assault Tournament.
I mean, I hope to get a game in here because I've got time.
Yeah. But so that's been all of my hobby progress and on my games played. So painting up Ill Clan forces, painting up the new Wave 2 mechs that we got in retail. I made an order for a whole bunch of battle armor from Fortress Miniatures and Games. So hopefully that will get here shortly. And then I can finally decide which kind of battle armor I want to take in my list. Indecisions, people. Indecisions. Dustin, what have you been up to lately?
I've been doing a little more modeling. I can't get as many games in as I would like to. So I'm filling the void with hobbying, and making miniatures for games I don't actually play seems to be a fun thing to do. So I got the Gamma Wolves rulebook. I'm making like a modular robot kit.
You're the worst.
I know. I'll play it one day.
At least when I talk about things that are Battletech related, mostly.
That being said, I also got some Wave 2 mechs. I'm painting up some Lion Guards. I'm painting up the rest of my Alpha Galaxy mechs for the tournament. Lots of hobbying. Also building a new deck out back, so my body hurts. I'm not as young as I once was. That's pretty much...
Is it a porch if it's in the front and a deck if it's in the back? How does this work?
I don't know. Deck is just what comes to mind. I think a porch is covered. I think a deck is not covered.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So this is uncovered.
So far it's a deck. You can always turn a deck into a porch. Just put a roof on it. The more you know, people. Denham, what about you? What have you been up to?
I too got a whole bunch of Wave 2 mechs, which I haven't even taken out of the box, so I'm not painting them yet.
Shame.
Hey, I know. Well, I've been printing and painting terrain for the airport maps on the new desert map pack. 4 of those maps go together to make a really big awesome desert airport, and I wanted to give it the super nice makeover for the games at the hobby store. So I've finished printing out all the buildings and the airport runways, and I'm working on solutions for the actual hills.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's what I've been up to.
No, that sounds good. For hobby news, we saw the Stormcrow come available, and something that I don't think any of us were expecting were the new salvage bags coming from Creative Juggernaut.
I think it's a clever idea.
Clever. It's I'm 50-50 on it. It's exactly what you hopefully are.
It's mech bits, right?
It's mech bits. You don't know what kind of bits. You don't know. Well, I think it was 10 bits. 10 bits for $10.
Oh, is that how much it is?
Seems a little pricey for bits, but
10 bits for $10 is.
I mean, I know what kind of bits are in the bags, and I'm wondering if you get enough bits, can you build your own?
I think a lot of people are trying to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be, I think they said that it was Black Knight, Stormcrow, and a little bit of the Crusader and one other mech that were in there. So
yeah, your next kit bash, just put them all together.
I thought about it.
I could finally have that 3-armed Black Knight that I've always wanted.
Stormcrow legs and a Crusader torso.
I feel like if it was more, I know 2.2 mechs is not a lot for a bits bag. I think that's probably my reservation on that. Like, give me some more variety. Like okay, after kit bashing a bunch of things, all right, you can only use so many Black Knight pieces before you realize these are all Black Knights.
This is my field of dead Black Knights for the.
That's a good point. Good basing fodder, right?
Hobby news-wise, I think everyone's still just trying to make sure they get their Wave 2. Ares and Fortress got theirs recently. A bunch of other retailers have started to put ads out that they have it. So I think we're close to the end.
There's a couple boxes I missed that I got to get.
Oh, we had vinyl stickers come out too. Yeah, so they're like, you can get, I want to say 1.5 or 3-inch vinyl stickers for some of your favorite factions.
Cool. I have a lot of favorite factions.
So for mail this week, we had Chris Miller writing, "Hey guys, I will also be attending the Southern Assault tournament. I listened to the Alpha Strike episode today, and I thought I'd introduce you to the Destiny rule set that Death from Above Wargaming has been developing. It hits the sweet spot between Classic Battletech and Alpha Strike very nicely. Picture in your head if Classic and Alpha Strike had a baby. But I'm looking forward to meeting you guys." I was like, thanks, Chris. I can't wait for you to be sorely disappointed. But me and Dustin
don't
will
meet
be
your
there.
heroes.
Yeah, don't meet your heroes. It's why this is audio only.
You don't look like what I thought you would look like.
But we will be there. We'll be happy to hang out and meet you.
Look forward to it.
There you go. I'm really excited because while Fortress Miniatures won't have any stock on the floor at the tournament, they are opening up their home for some impromptu shopping. And after getting that 1 pack of infantry platoon, I kind of want the whole battalion and some of the other Death Ray Designs vehicles to go with it. Like, maybe I'll pop my VTOL cherry. Maybe. Who knows? We'll see that on the next episode. All right, let's take a quick break and see what's coming in on the HVG. If you are one of the hundreds of Mechwarriors living with tinnitus, infertility, heart palpitations, anxiety, or even death, you need to hear this. Some battle mechs listed in the report by Comstar titled Experimental Technical Readout have been found to contain untested equipment. If you or a loved one have piloted a battle mech with the prototype improved jump jets, quadruple strength Myomer, or even prototype double heatsinks, you may be entitled to compensation now. Hi, I'm Dale Cannon. Please call me today. We will fight to get you the justice you and your family deserve. All right, we are back. So you've finally found a way to get you and a couple other Mechwarriors to play regularly and agree to a play style. So your options at this point are to cash in because it's all downhill from here, or to commit to a campaign to mix things up when things get boring. So what exactly is a Battletech campaign? Denham, how would you respond to that?
So we've got a couple different options for Battletech. You've got the player versus player. So there's nobody in control of it. You just play a series of missions, but you keep the same mechs type of thing. And you keep track of damage between the missions. So that's one type. And then the other type would be more like the D&D type scenarios, where you have a game master who is in charge of the opposition force any NPCs. They would be the one who control the game, and the players would just be the actors in the story, whether they're in mechs or not in mechs or part of a special forces unit type thing. So those are the two main types, like the GM run type or the player versus player type.
Okay. So what is your experience in doing either campaigns or just continuing play?
I have a big background in other role-playing games. I've played a lot of D&D. I've played a lot of Shadowrun. So when Mechwarrior came out, which was the role-playing game version of Battletech, I was very, very excited, and I threw everything into it. So I learned how to do the out-of-mech type of play pretty early on. But to just play Battletech, I would have to say that sometimes I even enjoy the player versus player type of campaign better because there's less to keep track of.
What about you, Dustin? What's your experience in Battletech campaigns?
So I've played in a couple games of A Time of War, and I've been a game master for like 2 or 3 sessions of Time of War. I've also played one, I think when the beta test released for Destiny, I played one night of that with some friends, with some Dungeons and Dragons friends, because I've my only role-playing game experiences in the Battletech universe, minus like the Dungeons and Dragons starter kit, like one session of Lost Mind of Pendelver or whatever. So
you are the green/recruit of all extended non-Battletech games.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with, role-playing stuff too. So kind of a tough way to get in. Everybody plays Dungeons and Dragons. Nobody plays Time of War. And I've also played a little bit of, chaos campaigns, which is like what Denham was saying, the player versus player versus dungeon master or game master. So I've played plenty of that, actually. Yeah, and I got opinions on both of them.
Yeah, so I have done a bunch of D&D. I've done DMing and just playing. So that's that experience. I've done a lot of Warhammer campaigns. So that's probably the most miniature related one.
Like antagonistic campaigns in Warhammer?
Yeah, so
player versus player.
Exactly, player versus player. So
okay.
that's I'd say 50% of my experience is player versus player, and the other 50% is player versus DM. And they're just two very different beasts, in my opinion. For me, I prefer player versus player, like a large. I say large, but honestly, you just need 4 or more players to really kind of have a good player versus player chaos campaign style rather than a Dungeons and Dragons style. But we're not here to talk as much RPG. We're here to talk like tabletop running campaigns, using your models in one game and taking it to the next game, and there being a little bit extra flavor to it. So what does running a campaign versus a random one-shot pickup game change? Normally, this is having pilots or a pilot that grows in its skills. It gets new abilities. The mechs themselves either get different properties, with essentially the decisions that you make in game 1 will matter in game 2 and affect future missions. And that's really what gives Battletech that extended feeling, rather than just, I'm taking 4 mechs today and I'm going to completely change it up the next day.
If you have a Jenner and you know that you're probably going to need him in game 2, you're going to be less likely to suicide him to take out a heavier mech because it doesn't matter, than you are to be a bit more cautious and make sure that he does in fact get out with both of his legs so he can be helpful in the next mission. It's a whole different mindset.
Yeah, you get to role play the forced withdrawal instead of using the rule.
And forced withdrawal becomes really important because you don't want to lose that mech.
You really don't.
No.
A big component of any campaign is you need someone to either be the leader of the campaign, and that's the person who's picking the missions and picking how much to throw in progression-wise, or someone to be the dungeon master / game master of the campaign, and they are the permanent op 4, and you will always play them. So let's talk about the game master style and what kind of role they need to be in. So, Denham, what kind of role would the game master need to fill in a campaign setting?
What the game master would do in a setting would be to not only be the opposition force, but also set the story, set the where you're going to be playing, help keep track of all the supplies that you use up and damage that you take, and find a way to express that in a meaningful way for not just the next mission, but the rest of the campaign. So he'd be the in charge guy who'd have the whole story.
So what you're telling me is the Dungeon Master needs to make sure that you're playing Harebrained Schemes Battletech and not MechWarrior 5.
Yes. Yes, that is correct. I like
is that too much of a burn? Maybe that's too...
No.
MechWarrior 5 deserves it.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
It has its place.
Oh, of course. But it deserves it. I see I derailed your train of thought. I'm so sorry.
So this is going to be the person who essentially writes the fanfic of where you guys are fighting, what's the story, what's the whole reason that a whole bunch of Lyran guards are fighting each other, because your entire play group is a whole bunch of Steiner players.
If they do fanfic, there's going to be some twist at the end, so expect it.
That's for a game master style play, which are completely fine. Like I said, I prefer the player versus player chaos campaign style.
How do you organize? Yeah, how do you organize a chaos player versus player?
So for player versus player, I prefer there still to be a game master, essentially, who is, quote, writing the fanfic of why all these factions are fighting over one either planet or system. I prefer system for these, just so you can have different environments. It kind of mixes it up. So if everyone's playing on a grass map that day, then you can write it off that everyone's fighting on the same planet rather than the ice planet next door. Something like that. That person is more there to kind of set the rules level, the progression level of, okay, we're doing only tracking experience points and dead mechs and dead pilots, nothing else. We're not tracking repairs or ammo or anything else. At the end of the day, we're just doing a campaign with these additives to it. So no matter which style you're doing, you're kind of going to need someone to be in charge who's kind of organizing it, running it, telling everyone this is good, this is bad, we're not going to use this. And then they will either put it to a vote or everyone will agree. If that's how you want to play, that's fine.
I think the Chaos campaign specifically says that if you, the starter books, the Sword and Falcon starter books, have either of you read through that at all? Not the Sword and Falcon, the Sword and Dragon. With that one person plays the Fox's Teeth unit, and the other one plays Swords and Strikers. But even if you each take a different side, they never want you to play each other. The book specifically says that one person has to play the Op 4 against Swords and Strikers, and then they switch, and the Fox's Teeth plays against just the GM person.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's never...
You're blowing my mind here.
You're never playing Swords and Strikers versus the Fox's Teeth until like the last mission.
Ooh.
It's really weird, but I didn't know how to explain that, so I just wanted to get all that out there before so we weren't on camera going, this doesn't make any sense.
And that's called the Sword and the Dragon?
It's called Sword and Dragon.
But no, that seems like an interesting way to play, though, if you're only having like two people.
Right, exactly. And I've done that one a bit, and it is fun. And it does follow basically the Chaos campaign. It was like the precursor to the official Chaos campain. Yeah. So there's a couple small differences, but it's structured in an identical way.
Yeah, after my brother and I had played many, many games of Battletech against each other, and we had worked ourselves into a corner with our meta. This was before I was playing with anybody else. It was just me and my brother for like 6 months over the computer. We were looking desperately for this kind of Sword and Dragon book. I think I ended up on A Time of War, which was maybe the wrong place to start. I wish Succession Wars Chaos Campaign PDF was out like 3 or 4 years ago when I was looking for a new, fresh way to play.
Yeah, there was a whole series of starter books, and just for that exact reason, there was Sword and Dragon, which I really like. There's Wolf and Blake, and then there's Fist and Falcon. And they came out around the 2007 to 2010 zone.
I'll keep those in mind.
How does the game master or group decide on how much of the options to add to the campaigns? Because most of us have played HBS Battletech or Mechwarrior 5, where you can count the Mechwarrior's salary, his medical bills, his insurance, the ammo, the armor, everything has a cost to it. Everything takes time. The travel costs, like literally, I'm opening up the well to see how deep it goes, and it never stops. So how do you decide? Yeah, it's almost bottomless. So how do you decide where to stop?
That you have to talk with the group to begin with. So you've got a bunch of friends who play Battletech, and you ask them what sort of experience they're looking for. They could say, we just want to blow things up, but we want to blow them up as a team, and we want our team to work together. That's great. That's the Chaos Campaign series. but they could all be really big Shadowrun or D&D players, and they can say, I want to have conversations with people in the bar after the big fight. I want to bet in Solaris and have that mean something. I want to be able to fix a fight in Solaris. I want to go rob some technology from Comstar, things like that. And if they want to do that, then that is definitely, they want to go the more robust RPG route. But if half of them want to do one and half of them want to do the other, it's time to either make a compromise or just split it up into two separate types of games that you play. You guys are invited over on Tuesdays and you guys come over on Thursday.
Ooh, look at this guy. Tuesdays and Thursdays.
I know, right? They don't have kids.
You really do have to just kind of come to an agreement on how far down the rabbit hole to go, and there's no right or wrong answer. I will say probably if you're just starting out, if no one there has campaign or continuing game experience, start very small.
Yes.
Very small.
Yeah.
You can always build on your group. It's really hard to take stuff away because by that point you've already lost people's interest. And then if they're not having fun, what's the point?
What do you think would be where you start? I would start personally on like just track pilots, not even like experience, but literally just track pilot deaths and maybe like give them a special pilot ability. And if they're dead, then that guy's dead.
Maybe mechs too. Track mechs, dead mechs. Because you got two characters there. You got the pilots and the mechs. Mechs are characters too, right?
So play your regular pickup games, but you only have 12 or so mechs to pick from for a couple games. And if any of yours die, then by the last game, you might be scraping the bottom of the barrel.
I think Total War has some sort of rules. I think it was page 41 that had just a blurb in there about keeping track of how many successful missions your particular mech warrior that you play with has survived, and they get X number of XP to lower, your pilot's gunnery and piloting skills. But it's totally on the honor system. And when you lose that pilot, it's up to you to say, "Oh, that one's gone," and start over.
What about you, Dustin? How many rules levels should you either start out with or aim for the first intro campaign?
I like I referenced just a couple minutes ago, I would tell my prior self to start with the Succession Wars Chaos Campaign PDF. I think
that one's free, if I remember right.
That is
free 30, and I think that one's very manageable. There's not a ton of war rules. It uses a war chest to keep, to abstract all the repairs. You're not rolling for if you can locate the actuator that got broken in that fight. You're just, do you repair the mech? Do you not repair the mech? And then you have pilots. You keep track of the pilots, their skills. It even has a campaign. What would you call it? Web?
Yeah,
flow
either
chart.
Map or
like a flow chart almost.
It's a progress chart.
Yeah, and it kind of it's the if I remember correctly, the last mission is a bit of a meat grinder, and it's made to be pretty easily won by the player losing and easily lost by the player who's winning. And it's supposed to grind both sides down to where you've got a mech that's a couple of mechs that are totally destroyed, duking it out in the last final mission. And if you're weak on, like I was, if you don't have a ton of experience, making that narrative for the campaign, it's just basically a bunch of adversarial games. You're trying to spice up your pickup games. I think that's a great place to start. You don't have to buy an extra rule book. It's free. Chaos campaigns are quick, easy to take care of. Yeah, that's where I would start, if you ask me.
Well, yeah, like one of the bonuses not only is the whole Succession Wars structure, the intro PDF free, but if you get any of the Turning Points books, they're all designed to work with the Chaos campaign. So that will give you very specific and different missions that you can use with your favorite factions that may or may not tie right into the campaign that you're running.
To deviate a little bit from your question, let's not deviate from the question. I was going to talk about the error reports are also great for their Chaos campaign supplements in the back. But
true, they are.
So once you've kind of picked a certain level, that involves picking what year, what tech level, and how much of the campaign elements to include in your games. I guess really we should talk about what makes doing a campaign fun in general.
I think different campaigns are more or less fun for different people, but everyone can find their place. Like if you just want to blow things up and have your, Betsy, your favorite Warhammer, then you are definitely looking for a player role. But if you like spreading out Excel spreadsheets all over your bed at night and just oohing and ahhing over them, then you would really fit in as the GM or the commander of the force. And there's quite a few resources out there for them. So there's a little something for everyone.
If you've ever played EVE Online or you love the homework phase of certain games, this Campaigns is the game for you.
Yeah, I think it's important to, whatever amount of rules you decide to bring into whatever kind of campaign you're playing, check in with the play group, see how they're doing, see if they're having fun. I know for a fact that I have not completed any campaigns that I've started. I know we tried to play through the Succession Wars PDF. I feel like we always get distracted, and that's okay.
Dustin, distracted? No.
Yeah,
we also had a pandemic happen.
Yeah, that's true. I think, gosh, was that around that time?
It was around that time.
So long ago.
We were doing it. The Battletech missions came out, and after one or two of those, pandemic.
Oh, and we were doing those missions as well, which was another in between, which I think is what are those even called, Denham? The ones that you've been running?
The ones I run, you're talking about never being in a campaign that's ended. Mine just won't end. I have literally been playing my RPG Battletech campaign for over 20 years, and the characters in the game, the ones that survived, are 20 years older. Oh. So we still play. I mean, it went from in-person and more frequent playing to now it's all virtual, and we only get to play every month or 2 or 3. But we still get together and we still play those same characters.
That's awesome.
And it's still fun because I have a group that, knows what they want, and that's what they're looking for. But are you talking about more of the Chaos Campaign type of games? Would they be scenarios or just missions?
I mean, I was talking about checking in with the play group. I'm impressed that you've kept the game going for 20 years. I want to be like that when I grow up. So yeah, maybe tell us a little bit about that. How have you kept the game going for so long?
Well, a lot of the people who are playing are either relatives of mine, so I know where they live, or just
I know where you live. You play in Battletech.
The very, very few friends that I made in college that I actually care about. So those are the only people who are part of this. We're keeping in touch anyway. We're meeting online anyway. So why not keep that game going?
Okay. So get a good core group together.
We are currently in the Jihad era. We've made it that far.
Wow.
Yeah.
Something to aspire to.
So what's your favorite part of either running or playing in the campaign then, Denham?
Oh, I'm the guy who likes to run the games. I enjoy playing a lot. But I know that I think about Battletech way more than most of the other people I know, like way more. So as long as I'm already thinking about it, I might as well use that energy for good. So I am the one who sits there with the campaign operations book or Mech HQ, putting all the data in there and making sure that everything is running smoothly. And I know where they're going way before they do.
Yeah, the spreadsheet guy.
Yep,
That's good though.
Guy.
I mean, if you enjoy doing it, why not do it? Like you said.
Exactly. I'm going to be doing it anyway.
What about you, Dustin? I know you've only done a little bit of Battletech campaigns, but what was your highlights of actually running on it?
I haven't played enough to really know if I'm more of a GM or more of a player character, or if I'm more of a antagonistic campaign person. I have enjoyed all of them. I look forward to playing enough of them enough that I know which one I like more or less, but I have enjoyed all parts so far. I've liked our adversarial campaigns. I've liked hosting Time of War. I liked playing in Time of War. I liked playing Destiny. I like it all. It's all set in Battletech, so I'm a bit of a fanboy. So to give you a non-answer, I love them all equally.
So you have no favorite part of why someone would want to be in a campaign? Not
yet. I enjoy doing the bookkeeping. I enjoy doing the playing as well. I don't really have a favorite yet, but I'll ask you that question. I know you like adversarial campaigns, and I know that you've played in at least the one with our group before pre-pandemic. Have you done anything else? What do you like?
I mean, I've also am and am still currently doing the Battletech missions, which is a player versus game master campaign. So I've got one more on you then.
There you go. I guess we did run that style of campaign in the beginning of the pandemic before our group kind of died out.
And we did a little bit of that over Mega Mech virtually until we decided to do a podcast and say goodbye to that night. But
this is the price we pay.
Yeah. I just need everyone to know. It's like I would be getting so much more Battletech in if I wasn't telling everyone about Battletech.
But I still get to talk about Battletech, which I'm already thinking about anyway, so I appreciate it.
But one of my favorite parts was actually just probably the most basic thing, which was naming the pilots. Like, I literally had the spreadsheet of all the pilots. I had worked really hard to make like a nice Google Doc, and I had like kill marks where I could bubble in, or I think they were kind of mech styled that I would, fill in where they had a kill. So it was like personnel tracking. Like I'm the commander at the base. Like, Jimmy's killed 3 more locusts, 1 more before he gets a promotion. He gets a promotion. Then writing that letter back home. All right, Johnny B. He took an AC-20 to the cockpit
again.
Yeah, again. So yeah, that was like something super simple, so basic that like it took no one that I was playing had to do any bookkeeping to keep track of, and it was all me, and it was still one of my favorite parts of it.
I'd say that's the cool thing, but also the difficult thing about the missions that you were telling Dustin that you're playing with me is that most of these role-playing games we're playing with a group that we know, people that we know. These are all people who you talk to, get a feel for how they think, and you can make something really cool and really special and really tailored to that group. But the missions system is just designed for people to just show up at the gaming store, and maybe they're playing missions there. And if so, you can just join in or drop out. And it adds a lot of fluidity and flexibility, but it also makes it super hard to make anything more than the most generic stories.
Right.
But since you do keep track of your pilot and you do get to save up for that new mech, it's very addictive, and a lot of people really like it. It is our most popular game type that I've seen in a long while.
I think it's especially the fact that like we all have schedules and stuff, and having a campaign architecture that people can get in, don't have to attend not everybody has to come to every night, is good. And that kind of flexibility, I think I would try to work that into any kind of campaign I was running in the future, regardless of what kind it was. And I know that's going to limit you somewhat, but right, you can't play a super intimate campaign if you're not keeping track of everybody, but making sure that people can be absent and the game can still go on can make the game actually happen.
Yeah, and that's the important part, making sure the game happens. You don't get that teamwork that is developed over a group that does play together all the time. And it's a lot more individual mechs just running around, which as a GM, I have to consider. They are not going to be efficient. They are not going to communicate really well. So I do have to pull my punches in that sort of setting, but whatever keeps them coming back.
Yeah, no, there is something to be said about the drop-in kind of campaign where there is a skeleton and you only are applying as much as it needs to be.
Yeah.
Especially now when our game time is still kind of dependent on the stores that are open. If they are open, there's not a whole lot of certainty right now still gaming-wise. So having that kind of structure, just if you have players that aren't completely open, like you might have 4 or 5 players, but only 2 or 3 are available at any given time. Like you can still do a campaign and just have people swap, and essentially the campaign moves through the players, not as much needing all 5 of them to be there.
Yeah.
I think we mentioned that running a campaign can be everything from running Mechwarrior 5 style or HBS Battletech style to just playing against your normal opponents with counting pilot XP or counting pilot kills. So in normal cases, what are some things that define how you play in a campaign?
Ammo and armor and internal structure. It's all suddenly very important. If you're playing back-to-back missions where there's no reason why your company or a lance should be able to go back and repair and refit. You have to be a lot more conservative about how you play. And that brings up much better tactics in my mind. It's easy to say, oh, I'm just going to charge my Wolverine in and punch him until he stops moving, no matter how much damage I take. But now you know, my Wolverine is a very important mech. There's a good reason that I'm going to have to keep him around a lot longer. And you start paying attention, being more careful. It's that risk versus reward thing, I guess, where you could take the risk and push harder on one mission, but it is a risk because if it doesn't pay off, you're in big trouble a mission or two later.
Campaigns definitely can set you up to either play more conservatively. What were you going to say, Dustin?
Oh, no. Or sometimes your Jenner takes a large laser to the face on turn 1 of the first mission.
Yeah.
It's sad, but then it gives you
but then
opportunities.
it's a real tragedy, right?
Well,
yeah.
It's opportunities because the Chaos campaign talks about recruiting new members, recruiting new pilots, and it's sad that you've lost a potentially more experienced pilot who might have a lower gunnery or piloting skill, and now you have to start over with a green person who's 4 or 5.
Yeah, struck down in his prime.
Right, and finding a cockpit for a mech might be a lot easier than finding that Lord's Light PPC that would fit exactly.
Yeah,
I've got an AC-20 with that pilot's name on it, and I'm going to keep shooting till I find it.
Exactly, but it's out there somewhere.
Exactly. But yeah, so playing more conservatively is normally a big kind of style of play. Like I said, the long-term tactics are much more meaningful. So having someone that can sit in the back and just snipe away and plink away with AC2s, Dustin and his blackjacks, is actually a much more viable play style here.
Yeah, and you've got 50 rounds for your SRM2, and suddenly that's helpful. You don't have to reload between every mission.
Yeah, because some ways to play are like, okay, if you use that mech, you can't use it in the next game because it's got to go back and get repaired. Next drop is simultaneously somewhere else,
or it could be the mechs that survived from this mission are allowed to join this mission as reinforcements, if they're not in forced withdrawal from the previous mission.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you can do where one thing affects the other things.
So you mentioned ammo expenditures mattering and internal damage having real consequences nowadays. How much do you think a campaign disincentivizes having an ammo-dependent mech?
If you play it right, not as much. Yes, it costs C-bills, but they're also, I don't know if they're easier to replace or easier to find or cheaper in general, but there is some monetary offset between ammo-dependent weapons and energy-based weapons. But the players that I have, I don't see a lot of energy-only mechs just because of they're afraid that they won't be able to get back to their dropship to resupply or rearm. Though there have been specific missions where they took the more energy-dependent mechs just because they knew that they were going to be out in the field a lot longer than normal. So it's good to have more mechs than you have pilots just to have choices.
I know for me, for my campaign, Lance and list building, I definitely went with an all-energy list just so I wouldn't have to track ammunition, wouldn't have to worry about that in the C-bills.
You do that always anyways.
Well, that was kind of why it started. I was like, this is easy. Okay. I don't have to track ammo. I only track heat. Heat is in the game. There's no homework phase for the
heat is ammo.
Heat is ammo. That is instantly free every game. Yeah, that's just always something that comes into mind. It's like, well, I only like to run, ammo boats.
Well, it also depends, like clan campaigns. We've done dabbled in that. The clans don't worry about ammo expenditures as much because every battle is their live or die moment. They're there for the one-on-one glory, and you don't need a lot of ammo for that. You just need enough ammo for that. Right. And as I recall, I think it's one of the reasons why they didn't do as well on Tukiyid as they were expecting to. No spoilers, but they didn't do well.
Yeah, the Tukiyid campaign kind of goes into this, that a lot of the missions have either the clan mechs either starting with less armor or depleted ammunition for some weapons, and I thought that was a really interesting way to kind of represent that.
And the Tukiyid campaign is based on the Chaos campaign, so if you've been playing any of that at all, it will fit right in. Now, if you're not playing with randoms from the gaming store and you have a group of friends, then you can really build a real team with other people and learn to work effectively and efficiently together, or just try to build the best Lancer company that you can pick mechs from, for whichever mission. But that's a really fun way to do it, because it really gives that teamwork feel.
Yeah, that's like picking the party before a campaign and having that discussion. Who's going to be the barbarian? Who's going to be the healer?
Exactly.
Who's going to be the wizard? Yeah. Who's going to be the blackjack in the back? Who's going to be the brawler? Who's going to be the hunchback with the AC-20?
I mean, as you're saying that, I already know Dustin's with the AC-2. My brother's with the hunchback. You can be the
Josh
guy.
pilots a mongoose.
Always. That's it. Sorry, Josh.
Or Black Knight.
You can only be in the mongoose.
There is a lot of camaraderie that can start even before the campaign plays its first game.
Yeah, but once you play the first game, as soon as you pull that one headshot out of nowhere that wins the campaign or wins that mission, that you were all certain you were going to lose, I mean, that's what really does it. Because then it's everybody's win and not just one person.
You heard it here. Battletech is a feelings game.
The amount of hate mail. But yeah, so that's one big thing is, like you said, is everyone kind of coming together and each bringing their mech or their strategy. I prefer the player versus player, where you're kind of doing I build a lance from a roster, like a company's roster, and I'm building a lance for that game. So I'd say the biggest thing about your style is you get to pick that one mech that is your daily driver, and that is going to be your ride for the next couple missions. What are some advantages and disadvantages to that?
Ooh, I don't know if there are any real advantages. Disadvantages are if your ride gets blown up, you're in big trouble. We get around that in missions by saying that that your reward at the end is based on how much damage your mech took, because it's going to have to be repaired. So even if you totally lose your mech, you get it all fixed up by the next mission, because who knows if you're going to even be in the same store for missions.
Right.
As you were in the last one. Friendly games with friends, I think it's better. I think it's more fun when they do have each individual mech warrior has a couple mechs to choose from, by midway-ish into the campaign. It really brings out a lot more choices, a lot more fun in the game.
Yeah, I wrote down I'm stuck with this mongoose for 6 games, whether I love it or hate it by the end of it.
Yeah. I think you did miss 1 or 2 games in there.
Yeah,
you should have had enough to buy out of that mech by now.
We experienced this in our early pandemic game, where we were in our light mechs for a while.
Yeah, and those missions are based on the battle value of the players, so that just means that you're facing lighter mechs. So if everybody magically had heavies or assaults, you would be facing heavies and assaults.
Yeah, everything's a lie, guys. It's all a sliding scale.
It is. It's the Bethesda slider.
Yeah.
So if that's something that you're worried about, you can always, like I said, pick that roster of mechs to choose from, whether you as a group come together and say, this is the company that is fighting and we have these mechs to pick from. And this mission today, I will take the mongoose. Next mission, I will take the thorn. And I'm feeling a little ballistic this day, so I'm going to take the blackjack. So there are ways around it if you're worried about being stuck with one mech for an extended period of time.
That's true. And what you need to do is, if you're not in charge, make sure you have that chat with your GM, because your GM is there to have fun and he wants everyone to have fun. So, talking with him about concerns or suggestions is a good way to tailor it so that you don't get bored.
Another question is, do you have to start at level 1?
Yes, absolutely. No, you don't ever have to start at level 1. I haven't played a game of D&D that started at level 1 in years now.
Oh.
So what does level 1 for Battletech look like to you, Denham?
Battletech level 1 are your green mech warriors, your 4 or 5s and 30-25 tech. That's level 1 to me.
As basic as it could get.
As basic as it can get. Yup. If I'm playing with a pre-made lance, then I don't mind people starting with different gunnery pilotings. But a lot of times, if everybody starts at level 1 every time, then that slog to it getting interesting is it's less learning the game and more boredom.
Grinding. Yeah.
Once you know the game, there's no reason not to start with experienced pilots.
Yeah.
And better tech.
Yeah, I would actually recommend for your first game to start at level 1, just to kind of get a feel more so for the campaign structure rather than the actual mechs and skills and all that. But you can definitely start at higher quote unquote levels. Like, not everyone needs to be in a light mech. You can have some lights and mediums, and just everyone plays what they prefer. If you want to start out with special pilot abilities, you can do that. Like, have your class feat essentially.
Yeah, I mean, level 1 is there for a reason, and don't ignore it, but you don't have to use it when you don't need it.
But yeah, anything you have to add to that, Dustin? What do you like starting at level 1? Do you not like starting at level 1?
So far, I like starting at level 1. I don't have tons of experience, though. I could see how that could be boring. I mean, I think
you were in a Hornet, I want to say, for a couple games.
For like 6 games.
Yeah.
Five
how did that make you feel as a person?
It was okay. I had jumping jack. No, I think in that situation, finding a different way to spice up the game and make it exciting with more objective-based missions, because we were still we were doing a little bit of objective-based missions, but as the GM for that campaign, I was writing this stuff. I should have done more like smash and grabs or clandestine maneuvers or something that makes the light mechs exciting in their role instead of a meeting engagement with layers or, extra stuff sprinkled on top. So it's probably my fault, but I'm deviating from the question. I've only ever started at level 1. I could see how it could be exciting to make your all-star role or, playing an elite unit and just starting there. Yeah, that could be fun.
There's a reason why most of the Battletech video games don't start you in a light mech.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
That's the most I can say about that. But there is a reason, because if everyone's in light mechs,
mediums,
you give it a medium, something that's not perfect. Nobody starts out in the perfect medium. They start in a medium with light plus weapons and armor. So it's just enough so that you can choose if you want to do speed, if you want to do firepower. It just gives you more options. So
you get an assassin. Wait, what?
I mean, an assassin when everyone is taking light mechs is probably more scary than we put it out to be.
Yeah, there's that anecdote from one of the games that we played with Denham with you.
Yeah,
where there's an assassin trying to finish off your mongoose.
He almost did.
almost.
But he has. Mongoose. My mongoose has not died yet.
Oh.
Mental note. Kill the mongoose.
Sorry, Josh. I will try harder.
Are you in a crab yet?
I'm not in a crab yet.
You could be. He absolutely could be. He could be right now.
So we've talked a lot about experience and that being one of the primary ways to progress through the campaign. But what are some other things? Like, what is the loot at the end of the game? What is the drive between game to game?
I'd say obviously everybody wants the bigger, better mech. I mean, some people love light mechs, but they want a better light mech or a light mech with better technology or better support. So all of those are goals, but how do you get them? Do you get C-bills? Do you get salvage? It doesn't really matter. Just whatever you feel like handing out. But you definitely have to keep dangling some sort of a carrot in front of all the Mechwarriors.
Yeah. If you're doing a game master style, then to quote Chronicles of Riddick, you keep what you kill. So it gives you a reason to kind of not absolutely destroy mechs, to make sure they're salvageable and you can take them back and repair them. So
that's right. We'll play the game. Who's the better killer?
Exactly. So the game master can dangle your favorite mech in front of you and be like, "Oh, you should kill this, but don't kill it too bad, because if you do, then you can't use it."
Yep, those ammo explosions on that mech you want, man, it's very sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in most campaigns, you literally are starting with varying qualities of garbage.
Yes,
it's the best way to put it. And
very accurate.
So having mechs be a progression, like, at the end of 3 or 4 missions, like, everyone that is playing in that game has the option to purchase this mech that you salvaged or this mech that you raided and it was literally just in a hangar. So one of your players can upgrade to that if you want. Something simple to keep the daily driver kind of being changed out for the sports car once in a while. Keeps things fresh, keeps things interesting. What about you and mechs, Dustin?
You mean like as far as progression goes? Or,
Yeah.
the
What are your
character
feelings on mechs being a part of progression?
I mean, it's part of why we play the Battletech campaign, so you can upgrade the ride. Like Denham was saying, even if you prefer lighter, faster mechs, you still want faster, better mech. I feel like if I was a more competent story writer, perhaps the carrot on the stick could be a compelling, story, but I'm not so great at that. So, money, C-bills, and mech salvage really help bring the players back to the table and give you that sense of we're all looking for a progression. I think that's let's not get too existential, but part of the core human mechanic is getting better at things makes our brains feel good. So you can simulate that by giving people nicer mechs when they finish playing the game.
It's not a simulation. It's the same exact chemicals being released.
There you go. Why do drugs when you can play mechs?
Exactly. This is my drug.
I use mech to get better mech.
Makes me feel real
the
good.
80s or 90s, like what's your drug? No, what's your anti-drug? Battletech is my anti-drug.
Battletech.
So you hinted on C-bills. So that is obviously the primary currency exchanged in the Intersphere and Battletech universe.
Comstar.
Yeah.
You can't salvage every mech you want to get a hold of. So C-bills will give the players the flexibility, right?
Yeah, and as we all know, what do C-bills let you get?
Everything else.
Yeah, everything that you couldn't get out of the mission.
That's right.
It's literally whatever your imagination is the limit on what you can spend money on.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be like just physical things like mechs or ammo. You obviously have to pay for travel time unless you own a drop ship or a jump ship.
Yep.
You'll have to pay for people to find the things that you want. But you can also spend that money on battlefield support items. You can hire some aerospace fighters to do some
strafing
runs. Or you can hire a couple artillery units to drop down artillery in a couple places. So it's, like one-shot type things that you have to pay for.
Yeah, that battlefield support deck is probably one of the greatest things for campaign play in the last year or two since they released the Tukid and Succession Wars Chaos campaigns.
I'm so excited. I love it.
But that is, in my opinion, the perfect thing to spend your C-bills on for in-game use. Like, if you're not buying a new mech to use and you're not buying things to affect in-games, like you said, the airstrikes, minefields, single-use coolant pods, something fun like that. Honestly, if your players are very creative and you are, unlike Dustin, and good at building a kind of world for them to play in, you can just have them reinvest those C-bills into kind of the story. Like, okay, we're doing this to get money or get supplies to build up the base back home, and which will let us do more fun things later, whether it be support more mechs or go to different places. Like, literally, some people's goals might be, I want to buy a jump ship so we can get out of where we're playing now and go where the fun things will happen in a year. Yeah,
the party I've been playing for 20 plus years had a great base, and one of the things I did recently was somebody blew it up, and they don't know who and they don't know why. Ooh. So that's their current thing, is they're living out of their dropship right now, trying to find the person to get revengeance on.
The plot is thicker.
Now, if you're doing like a player versus player, probably those battlefield support stuff is going to be the best thing to spend your C-bills on, or either faster repairs, because you can attribute all of the repairs on your mechs to be a C-bill value, and you have to do enough missions to keep up. And by the end of it, you might be selling off mechs to make ends meet so you can play the next game.
Yep. I've had to do that in the HBS game a few times.
But you could pay for different ammo. You can pay for new mechs for either single use. Like, honestly, like I said, your imagination is the limit for what to spend C-bills on in campaigns.
That's when it's super important that LBX 10 autocannons are twice as much as the normal ones. It suddenly becomes very important. Do I buy 2 AZ-10s or do I buy 1 LB-10X and wait to get a second one upgraded? It matters.
What would you spend all your C-bills on, Dustin?
I in the campaigns I've played so far, we've really just you can use your C-bills for the bar scenes. In Time of Warfare, there's reasons to spend your C-bills on things that are not your mech, because you can play outside of the mech in those games. And then, mech repairs, maintenance, travel bills. It costs a lot of money to run a mercenary outfit. What can I say?
You got to bribe a few people on the way up.
There you go. Bribes.
You got to pay to get into the mission. You got to pay for that information.
Honestly, yes. In the Chaos campaign, you do, in fact, have to pay to get into the mission. You have to be able to afford the next mission. And if you can't, you have to take out a loan or sell some equipment off. So, yes, it's that's one I forgot about.
Yeah, the Chaos campaign kind of abstracts the greasing of the palms and the buying the ammunition. And
yep, it does a good job with that.
Yeah. But if you're going down the rabbit hole, you have to create those scenarios, which is where the player characters can use their money, which adds depth.
That's why the role-playing book, A Time of War, is like 500 pages long. So many things to spend C-bills on.
Mech tech salaries are expensive. So we talk a lot about experience. So what are the two main things that you can spend experience on in a campaign?
Oh, yeah, gunnery. And then that other thing I forgot.
Mostly gunnery.
Mostly gunnery.
Gunnery -1. Piloting 4.
Well, technically you've got a 0 limit, so you can't go -1.
That's good.
But,
zero
but that didn't stop us from doing it in the past. There have been more reasons to increase your piloting now. It used to be, back when I started playing, that your physical attacks were not based on your piloting skill. Like the piloting skill was for PSRs only.
Oh.
And now there's a lot more things that rely on your piloting skill. And one of them, which is also new for me anyway, I think it's as of 2014, is like special pilot abilities. And the lower your piloting skill is, the more special piloting abilities that you can acquire on that pilot. So it's nice balancing, and it gives even a better reason for piloting. And that's a great way. The special pilot abilities, it's like how to make your character stand out, how to make your pilot stand out if you're not doing the RPG type rules. So you're not diving into the nitty gritty, but you really want this pilot to excel in one thing. So it's a quick and easy and awesome way to do that.
What's your favorite special pilot ability, Denham?
Oh man. Okay. So
pick one.
Oblique attacker.
Oh, oblique attacker.
It's horrible. It's horrible. You don't, if you're playing against another person and they are not aware of this particular skill, then they're going to be very mad at you for a very long time. The oblique attacker says that if you're in a mech that has LRMs, like a Catapult, and you do not have line of sight on the mech you want to be your target, then not only do you not need a spotter to shoot at him, but you don't get any of the modifiers either. You don't get the indirect fire or the spotting +1s. You can just fire your missiles at a target that you can't see and have a better chance of hitting him.
Kurt played with oblique attacker. Am I remembering correctly where like you don't want to have line of sight when you have oblique attacker?
Correct, because it's a harder shot with line of sight. You have to worry about woods. You have to worry about intervening terrain. Whereas with oblique attacker, it's free indirect fire in a broken way. And since you can have more than one pilot ability, you could take oblique attacker. You could take that with the one
Sandblaster.
Sandblaster, which makes you roll higher on the cluster hits, as well as the one that makes it so that long range and short range modifiers are switched. I forget the name.
Rangemaster.
Rangemaster. So Rangemaster plus oblique attacker plus Sandblaster.
You are describing Kurt's build.
Well, I'm also describing Dan's build in our missions game. So
there you go. Yep.
So they have something in common.
Yeah. So
and
special
it is hell to play against.
Special pilot abilities are not balanced as much for player versus player. Like they
make the game fun.
They make it fun, but they can be easily.
You have to be careful with them. I know when we were playing our Chaos campaign, Succession Wars Chaos campaign, we had to have that conversation with each other. Be like, okay, let's not choose mech and special pilot abilities that are like kind of bullshit combos, right?
It's fun. It's fun trying to play against them, though, because it really makes you think about the game differently.
Yeah.
I mean, once you throw a special pilot ability in, it's almost a completely different mech.
Right.
Yes.
Totally different.
Agreed.
What's your favorite special pilot ability?
For me, it's probably human TRO, and that is very basic in that it's
-1 to your crit check, right?
No, it's a +1 to your crit roll, which makes a 7 a 1, but it also makes a 9 2 hits instead of 1, and it makes an 11 3 hits, or
blowing the arm
bumps
off.
up to blow an arm off on a two numbers instead of just 1.
Yeah,
it's actually quite powerful.
Yeah, it brings that 40% chance up to 58%. I want to say
I will agree with you. I don't have any of the charts in front of me right now.
It makes it more likely.
Oh, much
Yeah.
more. So.
Yeah.
7. There we go. 50. Yeah. So almost 60% of the time you're getting a critical hit
every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that one's not as much broken. Like, I think that makes it more flavorful and more fun.
But like the one that the oblique attacker kind of required 2 or 3 to really make it broken. There might be a couple that we could find with human TRO that would like increase your number of crit chances, and then
I mean, anything with like armor piercing ammo, like every special pilot ability is not, I want to say, balanced for regular play. So
once you start doing pilot abilities, you're not looking for balance anymore.
Exactly. And just because we've asked 2 out of the 3 of us, Dustin, give us your special pilot ability of choice.
Jumping jack every day.
Yeah.
Jumping jack is phenomenal.
And
why not jump when you could jump all the time?
Right, because that jumping jack makes it so that when you jump,
+1 instead of +3. Yeah,
exactly. It's like you walked.
Yep.
So why
it's another
not?
walk in the park, just flying. Yeah, I took that on my character in the games I play at the store with you. Yep, and in our our pandemic game,
2 years ago.
2 years ago, and the Hornet was still kind of a piece of trash, but less garbage because I had a 5.85 that could jump every turn and fire the LRMs and hit pretty reliably.
So special pilot abilities are good when you are not playing against the other person, when you have a GM running an Op 4 unit, because you can get a little bit more fun with those. The GM can throw unbalanced forces at you, but you've got these special pilot abilities that even the playing field. So it feels like you're doing more with fewer people, which makes it like, you're the heroes of this movie and not just, a snapshot of some random battle across the inner sphere.
Yeah, I would definitely say I would almost reserve special pilot abilities just for game master group versus a single person kind of games, just because of they do change it completely. They do turn everyone to like superhero, Natasha Korinsky level of do crazy things that defy the laws of the game.
In the box sets now, they include pilot cards with each mech. I guess in the Lance and Star packs as well.
Yep.
But there are rules for that, like only one mech on each team, or like one mech in each Lance, if you're going for a huge battle, are allowed to have any of that. Like those are the special pilots, and that balances a little bit.
Because those are pre-selected.
Pre-selected, so you're not going to have like the truly broken ones. But that does, flavor up a pickup game or a one shot for sure.
So we talked about experience, we talked about mechs, we talked about C-bills. One thing that I haven't really seen done, at least locally, is upgrades to like weapons and armor, like on a game per game basis. Yeah. Like something that's more done in the computer side, just because it's much more easy. But HPS Battletech, Mechwarrior 5, Mech Commander, like literally almost everything. It's like when you get a medium laser that is just slightly better than the one that was on your mech, like either does one more point of damage or has a little bit more range, stuff like that.
A little less heat.
Yeah, just one varied stat. And
well, that's another one of those things that's way easier to do in the more total RPG you go, because you're allowed to break so many rules when it's story trumps the rules. is it going to be cool? Then let's throw it in there and see how it works. Whereas that would be harder to balance in a PvP type of setting.
Yeah. For a PvP, I almost want to say stick with C-bills and battlefield support style things, and maybe experience. I wouldn't throw anything crazy in after that.
But yeah, I do love the idea of beefed up weapons, so that when you do lose that autocannon again, it hits much harder, because that was my upgraded one, that was my awesome one, and now it's all broken.
It kind of brings that risk and reward back to, you became a superhero that was super killy, but oh no, your small laser that does 10 damage is destroyed.
Yeah, well, you got this awesome mech that you never take off the dropship because you don't want to break it.
He doesn't pilot it; he just rubs it with a diaper.
Why do I pilot a mongoose every game? It's because my Black Knight is on the dropship. I don't want to scuff it up. It's almost paid off.
So we talked about some of the fun stuff for campaigns, but I want to talk about what will inevitably happen with most campaigns besides Denham's, 20-year campaign, which is, why should I keep playing the campaign? Like, how do I keep it fresh? How do I keep myself and my game master, or just the other players, from burning out? Denham, what's your style for preventing burnout in campaigns?
Sometimes there's long breaks between sessions, but that does keep you from burning out. But it would be, make sure that the rewards are good payoffs from the risks. And if your characters die, yes, death has to mean something. Death has to be important. Some characters absolutely have to bring in their cousin or whatever as a stand-in. But
everyone has a twin brother who knows exactly how to pilot their brother's mech.
But also, like, those fake deaths, or those, we thought he was dead, but with this bionic, he comes back with bionics or something, stuff like that. Those are the real fun things, the things that can really drive a story. So as long as the story is engaging, that really keeps it from burning people out. But you've got to know your party. You've got to know what drives them and what they find fun.
I will definitely say I experience burnout probably after 5 games of anything I'm doing. Like, that's how much before my brain starts trying to, I should have done this differently. And if I had done that, then I would be enjoying everything much more. And
no regrets.
Exactly. It's hard to go in with no regrets. One of the things that I always want to tell people is set an end date, whether it be a physical calendar date or a mission limit, just for your first couple campaigns while you still are like kind of hashing everything out. Don't let it be open-ended. We're going to go forever. It's like, no, say like, we're going to play this for like 4 months or 3 or 4 months and see how we all feel at the end of that. And if we like it, we're going to either continue that one, and you can go like, okay, everyone wants to keep going, we'll continue. Or you can just say, okay, we're going to change the timeline, change the era, change the location, and everyone goes and starts with new, fresh mechs or characters, something like that. You can also just set, we're each going to play 10, 15, 20 missions. So times at the table. And that's a good way if some person is like getting a crazy snowball advantage, that they have a time limit that, or a end of life before their mechs just start burning out and dying.
Yeah, because it can get boring driving the same mechs over and over and over again, especially if you've been reading up on some of the newer mechs or other mechs or different eras. And it's really important to have a chance to play in these different settings. Different settings, different mechs, different everything.
So you're telling me instead of grinding your way through the campaign, you can just put a bow on one and start a new one that happens later.
Yep, and you don't have to start people off with green players. You can start them off with, this is a mercenary unit that's been doing this for this many years, and you guys are all
already
vets now.
Good. Yeah.
Do you ever get burned out playing campaigns, Denham?
Yes, I do. Not often. The way my brain works, it always comes back to this stuff, whether it's this or D&D. I can't stay away from it too long. But at one time, I think somehow I was playing in 4 different campaigns every week. And
Whoa.
and that just like I had to stop playing for almost a year after that.
Yeah,
of
no
anything.
kidding.
Too much of a good thing.
It was way too much. I found my happy place now, and I can pretty much stick to it.
What about you, Dustin? Do you get burned out when you play a few times? I know taking a Hornet is a riveting, thrilling experience.
I feel like I've burned everybody else out, so I'm
I'm the one who burns them out.
Yeah, I'm always searching for ways to make the game more exciting, more engaging, to make sure that other people don't burn out. Also asking, why don't you want to play this anymore?
It's you, man.
You get that
you.
feedback. Get that feedback. Yeah. Yeah. With the whole COVID thing, I haven't been able to bring anything to an end. So I don't have a super good answer because
That's fine. I know that one good thing is like if everyone's enjoying it, but someone either got a new box set or new mechs that they want to try out, or there's, hey, I want to try out the Ill Clan stuff that's coming out in the rec guides. One thing is you can always just put the campaign on ice for like a game or two and just say, hey, we're in the simulators, or literally just drop the campaign, have a day of like, all right, we're doing regular play, so bring whatever you want.
Oh, I like in the simulators though, because you can still count like wins as XP boosts or something. Like you can use that for a fun little totally different, but still matters a little bit if you want.
Yeah, change everything up, but still have it. In universe, so to speak.
Yeah, talk that out with the players. Some of them might be like, I wanted to try things that I know won't work, but I want to have like a fun time. So if you're taking a break for that reason, don't bring that reason that they wanted to take a break and like, no, we're the campaign until we die. Yeah. Every game matters.
Exactly. Communication is key.
But I want to take my meme list of, 4 atlases with rack 5s.
Nice little Steiner Scout Lance.
Exactly. So like I said, just kind of get a feel for how everyone's doing. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with calling a campaign quits early and just...
Or taking a break. Yeah. Just take a break.
One thing that I have seen in my campaigns is after a couple, maybe 3 or 4 games, there will be like a runaway snowball player where the rich gets richer and the person who's being beaten keeps getting loser. So what are some ways that you kind of handle that to prevent that from kind of, I don't want to say souring the whole campaign, but...
Are you talking about like a chaos campaign sort of thing?
Yeah, like if one player is like losing his mech every game to like either a bad roll or, everyone's gotten that golden BB that hits all their engine slots at once, stuff like that.
With the chaos campaign setup, I've always seen that if that only even happens like 2 or 3 times in a row, then it's pretty much going to tie itself up. You're going to hit the end of the campaign. It's going to be, that force 1, let's start over. Or go on to a new contract and try and start it over that way. But if it's a longer campaign, like the missions thing is tough with that because you're not playing with a party. So you can't say, okay, the mercenary unit got paid X amount of C-bills. It's each individual person is getting paid the C-bills and XP. So if they didn't show up to a certain number, or their mech was out in front and got blown up way more, or they got unlucky, everyone else can be, sitting in the mediums and looking at those heavies while the other person is still stuck in their thorn or mongoose. Yeah, the best way to stop that in an RPG game is to make sure the party is paid as a group. And I don't really have a way to solve that in missions yet, but missions is still pretty new.
Yeah.
They've only got 2 official seasons out so far, and they're still kind of tweaking how everything works. I think we're up to version 2.2 now, so more good stuff on the way. Yeah, for player versus GM, that's probably a good way to handle it, is just, the GM has to either redirect shots or, give edge. If a person loses their mech, they get an edge for the next game, I might say. So if you have a bad hit, just spitballing here, guys. I'm taking notes. Keep spitballing.
But that's probably the best way that I would handle it in player versus GM. But if you're doing player versus player, a lot of times you will see someone kind of start establishing dominance over the campaign, and that's hard to kind of deal with because you don't want to disreward good play, but you also don't want it to be people no longer wanting to play against them, whether they just have mechs that are completely outclassed, more C-bills to throw at, battlefield support that completely breaks it. So you need to have a way to kind of balance.
Yeah, I like the battlefield support idea. It is kind of hard because the winner, but you also want everybody to still play. So I think it boils down. There's a little bit of a social contract when you're playing pickup games, and this is just structured pickup games, so that's still there. So figuring out a handicap of some description is a great idea. It could be a straight BV handicap, or, like you said, some of the support, or a mech comes in a little later or something like that.
Yeah, I like that. Mech comes in a little later. Like if so the handicap person gets all four. The person who's more struggling more at the campaign might have more mechs on the field at once. So
some maps are on the defender's side, some maps are on the assaulter's side, and if one person is losing, then you can assume that they have home field advantage, so they can have minefield set up, or something like that. Just something extra to help balance it out with some way of saying that here is an advantage because they are losing that fits.
One basic thing is I always like when the defender picks the map or picks which edge they play from. So They always are coming in with one tactic against their opponent. I'll probably throw this into the beginning, but if not, so who is the kind of play group that a campaign is designed for? That's a big kind of superfluous question. Campaigns aren't for everyone. I feel like that's important to understand.
Hopefully, if you've got enough friends who play the game, campaigns are definitely from friends who have been playing Battletech and just want more. Like not more games necessarily, but more of the story, more of the feel of the Battletech universe. They just like more flavor to their games, and those are really good candidates for campaign style play.
Yeah, there's an endless amount of width with Battletech, but introducing the depth can spice it up, especially through campaign play.
I like that. It really is the spice to mix up pickup games. Like if you're enjoying pickup games in your play group and you just want to see who's the best, see who's I don't want to say the better at spreadsheets when it comes to mechs, but I mean the better company commander is a good way to put it. Who can manage their mechs on the table and manage the
Mechbay.
The Mechbay, some might say. If you're doing a smaller campaigns, there are couple different options for you rather than long drawn out 20-year campaigns like some crazy people. I think we mentioned the Chaos campaigns. Those are really the best option for entry level. And that's, like I said, the Succession Wars, the free one from Catalyst Games. That is a great place to start. And everything is abstracted in that. So there's not really any other places you need to go. No other books, just your record sheets and that, and you are pretty much golden.
You can also look for the era reports.
Yeah.
They have touch points and campaign tracks in the back of those books.
Yep, and all that's compatible with the Chaos campaign style. So that also includes the starter books with Sorter and Dragon, Turning Points, and the Battle for Tukid campaign setting.
Yeah, I love that the Battle of Tukid campaign was designed for all of your Wave 1 and Wave 2 mechs. So if you just got your Wave 2, there's a great place to do a campaign, and it's in that little $10 PDF that they sold you.
Oh, but the maps are so cool looking.
Yeah, so if you have a player who has their preferred clan, and you have someone who has all of the Intersphere stuff, that's a great way to do it. And I'd like to think that those are extremely balanced for clan versus Intersphere when it comes to multiple games.
I agree, and I'm painting up my Smoke Jag, so if either of you want to do this campaign with me at some point, I'll be happy to play one side or the other.
Oh man, when I retire, we're going to do it all.
Excellent.
Do you want to know how likely your Aztec is to repair the actuator that got busted? And if they can't,
I do. How would I do that?
What kind of role, how likely is it for you to get the actuator for your Black Knight that just got blown when you're in a Class E world, right?
Inquiring minds do want to know. Yeah. Dustin, where would I find this?
campaign operations. I'm so sorry. Yeah. And there's different levels of granularity even within that book. That's kind of a choose your own adventure with the grittiness you want to get yourself into, right?
It goes so deep. It goes so deep, and it's so awesome. I have made a company using the rules out of the campaign operations. And it does. It tells you how many techs you've hired, how many Aztecs, the salary of everybody. When somebody gets a promotion, that sort of salary, the odds of you locating a specific mech or dropship or jump ship. It has all the special pilot abilities.
It's everything.
It is. But it's a lot. Like it's a lot of information, and not everybody's brain is built for keeping all of that information in line.
But it's a buffet, and you have to pick what you want to use from it.
It really is, yes. Yes, you only take as much until you have had enough, and not so much that you explode.
Yeah, you can really cherry pick from that book. Please don't use every rule from campaign operations.
But the more rules you use and the more complex it gets, there are tools to help. I have been playing around with the Mech HQ system. Not to run my games, because it can do that. It can find you games and it will let you play them in regular Mech and then move that information back over to Mech HQ. But you can just use it as an organizational program. Like, you can put all the data in about your forces and then switch it over to automated mode, and it will do the roles for when your techs try to repair the mechs. So if you just play Battletech on the tabletop, you can take the results and feed it back into Mech HQ, and it will crunch all those numbers.
Yeah.
And it has like the inner sphere mapped out. So if you're taking a jump ship trip from one place to another, you put those destinations in, and it tells you your jump path. It tells you how long it will take. It'll tell you how much money you have to spend, whether you own the jump ship or don't own it, or if you're renting it from these people or that people. Like, it's got everything in there you could possibly imagine. And it really helps keep all that in a nice streamlined little program.
Streamline. Yeah. My favorite thing about that is that if you thought it was cool to destroy your mech on the battlefield, wait until your crappy Aztecs destroy it more while they try to fix it.
It's a possibility, and they will break it for good, and it sucks.
But yeah, that's a lot of tables. It's a lot to keep track of. I have not used Mech HQ, but I do know about its ability to do this.
I mean, on the plus side, it is free, and it has all the campaign operations rules and a few others in case you want something else, or a mix of them all, because it lets you do that. But the other side of that coin is it's not super pretty looking. The interfaces could probably use a little bit of sprucing up. I'd say you get what you pay for, but that's not true, because even though it's free, it's actually really handy and really powerful. It just doesn't look as pretty as it possibly could.
Would you say that's the best option if you're wanting to run an extended campaign?
I would. That's what I would recommend to people. It does have a pretty nice tutorial PDF included in the install. So if you follow that, it will walk you through how to set up your campaign forces and the options that you'll most likely want to use. A little bit of reading, but my knowledge of how this whole Mech HQ worked went up tenfold just by kind of picking through that.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's, I'd say, on the larger end of campaign planning.
Yes. Yeah.
But we've actually been doing some low barrier to entry, and we've mentioned that when we talk about the Battletech missions. So, Denham, you've kind of taken the lead in GMing, at least locally, for that. And we've got 6+ people, fighting for table space.
Yeah, I think we might have too many on the next one. We'll have to split up to 2 tables. But in general, like you've heard us talk about it, what it is one of the other CDT members named James Kirtley. He created this mission series. He's got a website where he keeps them all, which we can link to in the show notes. But it was basically created around the idea of people playing a more campaign-style game at their local friendly local gaming store. The OP4 is calculated based on the battle value of the players who show up. So it's a flexible system that allows for random players to be there on some days and not on others. You also get rewards for the completion of the missions that are on physical pieces of paper, so you can carry them from game to game, even if the next game you play isn't at the store you played the previous one at.
Well, yes, I have a king crab with a 0-0 pilot. I did it at the other local game store.
Yeah, is that the one? That's cool, because your sheet would have all the numbers on there and stuff, so that I could glance at it if I wanted to, and check your math. Which, if you've got a king crab, I bet it's off by 1 or 2 zeros. But the players are allowed to play whatever missions they want that they can find. They're even allowed to play the same mission multiple times in order to complete one they failed, or just to get more money in XP.
How do you think I got the king crab?
Yeah. Touche.
Is that like literal grinding?
Yes.
Level 1.
Yeah, but you got to go find the store that's playing them. But it is very popular. I've had more people show up to that than anything else we've done. Even through the pandemic, I've had people asking me about it, so much so that I started one up virtually, so that I've got one that's running on Tabletop Simulator and one that I run at Hangar 18 Hobbies.
Yeah. I mean, the big benefit of something like that is you literally only need 1 record sheet, 2 dice, and 1 miniature. Like, that is the absolute bare minimum of things to play Battletech in my brain.
Yes. Yep. And you can show up anywhere, and you've got a game with consequences. And then you take the XP and money that you get, and you upgrade your mech and piloting skills, and you can get more powerful and a more powerful mech. And then when you do that, your opposition will be more powerful.
But you can find those missions at www.iwptech.com. So that's I'll drop the link to that in the show notes. But India Whiskey Papa Tech.com. Anybody got anything else that they want to talk about campaigns? Some words of warning for campaigns, or
they're a lot of fun. I think everyone should try a campaign style at least once, maybe twice, just to make sure.
Yeah, give it the old college try.
It's a lot of fun. Like, I enjoy my one shots. I enjoy my pickup games, but I think about BattleTech more in terms of survival. And it's just a lot of fun coming up with stories, because you know how BattleTech works in my head, where I see the mechs moving around and punching, kicking, shooting, and to add more to the story, it makes my brain feel good.
What about you, Dustin? Are you like chomping at the bit to get back into campaigns?
Always, yeah. I enjoy BattleTech in most of its forms, and I definitely enjoy the campaigns. The continuous play. All iterations of it that we've talked about tonight, I've done pretty much all of it, and so far I enjoy it all. I'd like to play it enough to have preferences. So yeah, one could say I'm chomping at the bit.
But no, I mean, this is great. Like I said, I wanted to talk about the basics of a campaign, which is it's really just any way to link 2 missions together, 2 or more missions together, and keep people coming back to the table with mechs they like, and giving them a reason to get better, play like they were in the universe, essentially.
Give them reason to play the mechs that they don't like.
Exactly. This is the one time I would take a Thorn, because no one's going to shoot at it. And the max armor, and it's cheap. So, this campaigns do have a reason. You do have a reason to take different mechs in campaigns.
And I think that's good too. Being forced to take mechs that you wouldn't otherwise take and learn how to use them is I think it's great.
Denham, Dustin, thanks for being my hostages / co-host for the night and talking to me about campaigns. And Denham, thank you again. I know your 20 plus years of BattleTech experience doing a continued campaign was invaluable for this episode.
Yeah, now I'm excited about my next session. Again, that's all I can think about. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
And Dustin, we will get you back to the table shortly so you can get some dice rolling where the next game matters.
Please.
I hope all you Mechwarriors enjoyed the episode. If you are at the Southern Assault Tournament, feel free to stop on by and say hey. Me and Dustin are excited to meet other people who are just as into the game as we are. But until then, remember, through salvage, all things are possible.